I am Pushpendra Singh. I am one of the actors from this film, The Men's, Women and Other Stories, which is in the international competition here at Jeonju. And this film is actually an acting diploma film made for the acting batch of the Film and Television Institute of India of 2008. And this film actually has 3 stories which have like many connections, not just one connection but many connections. And all the episodes, they talk about the relationship of men between women and the spaces in which a man lives. This film was being made for us, so we called the director to direct this film. And then the director had a month-long workshop with us. So during the workshop, we read different stories, we discussed different stories, and the director Amit Dutta has written a novel, so he narrated one story out of his novel also. And then we saw many films, like we saw films of Robert Bresson-type and Jim Jarmusch and Sergei Paraznov and Tarkovsky. So we saw different films in the workshop, and then we used to discuss the films and what could we take from those films. And plus we wanted to experiment with this thing of text and image. So all the actors were also involved in the whole filmmaking process. And while we were making the film also, we never took it as an end product, like the final film. We didn't know that the film will go so far. We just took it as a process of learning. This is very strange. Like the Film and Television Institute of India, initially when it was founded, one of the objectives was to make certain kind of cinema which is different from the commercial and mainstream cinema, which is more towards art and which is for cinema. But soon after globalization and liberalization, policies have been changing on the government level, and suddenly the acting course was shut down in between, and suddenly it was revived, and the acting course isn't subsidized by the government, the main courses are. So when this film was being made for us, the director of the institute wanted that we should call some main shot director from the mainstream industry, so he could make a film, and when it is premiered in Bombay, so we could get jobs in the Bollywood industry. But the type of films or the type of cinema which we watch at the institute, this is totally different from what cinema is being made in India. So we had this clear intention beforehand only that we won't be part of such kind of cinema. We'll be part of a cinema which has something to say and which is for the sake of cinema. India as a country, if you look at India, it's got its own tradition and culture and past. So you are used to live in that state of mind which is very peaceful, and you're close to nature, and you don't aspire for too much money and too much comforts. So like if you look at the first part of the story also, that's also saying the same thing. The protagonist stays in a room which is near a tree. He wants to stay there, but then suddenly like he's frightened by the snakes and by the birds which enter into the room. And so he thinks he should leave the space and go to the city. But when he goes to the city, he's just confused by the enormous infrastructure, and then he again wants to come back to the room where he stayed. So that's the conflict in which the country is also going through. If you look at India, people just want to migrate to the cities, but in the cities also they don't feel comfortable. And then they also want to go back to the village, to their own native places. So it's a very interesting like conflict going on. Before I came to South Korea, I had this impression of Asia, like Asia is one continent. But when I came to Korea, like I landed on the airport, and then I was coming from Incheon airport to Seoul, I was just surprised by the development this country had. And I thought, no, this is some other part of the world, it's not Asia. And then during the whole festival, I've realized this is like unlike Asia, or my concept of Asia at least. Yeah, like even in the hotel, like initially I had this sleepless nights, like the bed was too comfortable for me. I just couldn't sleep. There were like the 4 heavy pillows, there was this heavy mattress, and I saw like the next day there was a mattress underneath that mattress also. And the temperature of the room is also set to 20 degree. You can just increase the temperature, but you can't like get the temperature down. So like when I remove the quilt, which is the bed cover, I feel cold. And when I put it on, so I feel hot. So which is like very strange, like. So initially like I couldn't sleep. So then I started sleeping on the floor, beside the bed, which was like true me. I think that was one of the best compliments which a film could get. She said that your film is like a Buddhist painting. It looks one thing when you look at it, but it has many meanings.
And is this something true for the film?
Yeah, it's very true. I think for a good film, it's always the viewers who make the film. Ultimately, the filmmaker makes the film, and when the viewers see the film, it gets made in their minds. So, like to one of the questions also, when one of the members asked me, like, can you explain what are the different metaphors in the film? And then he referred to some of the metaphors that I could get these things. So I said, yes, that's the starting point. I think you've got the right thing. Why should I explain the metaphors? It's for you to decipher. To go home and to think about the film. And if the film has initiated this thought that it has got so much metaphors, so I think the film has done its job.